Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can provide you folks hands-on, in-person technology education in Durham, North Carolina. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We have a class on AI and SQL coming up next week. We have a class on AI and web scraping coming up November 19th. And basically, we're going to have things like boot camps and all that kind of stuff going on in Durham. If you're interested, go to silicondojo.com. Do remember, free to end user is not actually free. That's why I shake my brain nips every day. If you want to support the project by throwing some money down in the donor box link down below, that would be ever so lovely. And so, Uyghur. I think that's where I should just stop this video. I think I should just start the video and go, Uyghur. And then just walk the fuck away. Mic drop. Poof. It's funny, I do these videos, right? And to be clear, I'm doing these videos basically for American audience. Right, our country is being very stupid right now. My country is being very stupid right now, and I would prefer if we stop being so fucking stupid. But the funny thing is, I keep getting all these Chinese people to come in and watch the videos, and yeah, it is weird what they focus on. I did a video yesterday talking about some stuff, and at the end of it, I was talking about the Uyghurs. And I was talking about how the U.S. government is screaming about the Uyghurs and all that. And one of the things I was saying is I will care about the Uyghurs, right after we solve so many of the real social issues, the true social evils we have in our country. Again, I spent 20 years living in Baltimore City. A lot of what's going on in Baltimore City could be solved if people came together to solve it. If the government, not just funded, a lot of times it's money, but they've resourced it properly, we could do a lot of things, right? And one of the things I talked about is again, the Uyghur thing, let's solve our own problems, right? I talk about this with fentanyl, right? We're punishing China for fentanyl, we're murdering Venezuelans over fentanyl, and yet you don't hear the Trump administration building major new drug rehab facilities. We are not hearing how the United States will now lead the world in effective drug treatment programs. We just hear about murdering Venezuelans and punishing the shit out of China, right? And so I talk about this, and it's look, we need to focus. We need to solve our own problems before, frankly, I give two craps about the Uyghurs. And the funny part is, right, the Chinese people come in here, and a 35 fucking minute video, I talk about the Uyghurs for all of about 30 seconds. And oh my God, the comment stream is all about Uyghurs. It's Jesus Christ, you people. Motherfuckers, you may know how to do calculus at 9 years old, but you do not understand context. You do not grasp context worth of fucking shit. As I say, I beat up on the United States because it is my country, and if my country fails, I fail. A tsunami sinks all boats. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, that doesn't mean I'm so fucking impressed about the goddamn Chinese. And I gotta bet. Oh, China has a 5,000-year history. Oh, fuck the hell off. Anyways, just so everybody understands, I beat up in the United States because it's my fucking country. China is China man's country. If they want to solve their problems, that is their own business. But anyway, at least I got this out of the way first, so all the Chinese people, they can watch just fucking this, and then they can scream about it in the comment section, and they can ignore everything else. Because anyways, it's the modern world. So talking about Nexperia, this is kind of interesting, right? So we have the whole crap show going on with Nexperia. I've done many videos about Nexperia because it is the crap show that has no end. It is the dumpster fire that has no end, right? Basically, right? Nexperia is a company got bought by WingTech, a Chinese company. So it was in the Netherlands. It got purchased by WingTech in 2018, 2019. Basically, the United States, Trump has some concerns about Wingtech's CEO. Therefore, the Netherlands decided to seize Nexperia from the Chinese ownership. The issue is that Nexperia is literally a global company. So there's Nexperia's headquarters is in the Netherlands. They have wafer factories in Europe. So they have it like in Germany and somewhere else. But then everything gets packaged. Everything goes from the wafers into the actual finished widget in China. And so basically, since Europe essentially seized this Chinese company for very questionable reasons, then the Chinese division basically stopped listening to the headquarters. Again, that's an interesting thing. Like, what happens when you seize the headquarters and then the factories just stop taking orders from the headquarters, right? That happened, and then the Chinese government basically mandated that Nexperia's Chinese factories, the packaging factories, could not ship the finished products to the rest of the world. And so that's where we see now European car manufacturers, US car manufacturers, Japanese, South Korean, basically the global auto manufacturing industry right now is really, right, it's really at a tipping point, right? We're already seeing shifts being eliminated in many car factories, basically all around the world, and that's kind of where we've been at. So what's interesting now is apparently, and this is the whole question about how quickly can you bounce back, right? So here's the thing. Let's say Nexperia is building all this product. So normally they build product, they ship product, they build product, they ship product, they build product, they ship product, right? That's the normal process. Well, so everything's getting jammed up now. So one of the arguments that can be made is, well, if Nexperia keeps producing the products, keeps producing the chips, but then essentially they go into a warehouse, right? They have a stock, they increase their inventory of chips. Then one of the god-awful arguments that can be made is once the US, China, and Europe stop having their fucking pissing contest, right? Then basically Nexperia from China can just ship en masse all of these chips to wherever they need to go around the world. Right? So instead of getting, 100,000 chips in a shipment, maybe you get 1 million chips in a shipment. And therefore, even though production has slowed down, the concept would be that production for the rest of the world could speed up for cars, could speed up rather quickly, basically as soon as all of that product gets into the system. The issue, though, becomes is what happens when Nexperia stops producing the chips. Not only are the chips not being sent, but they're not even being produced to begin with. And so now what starts happening is you have this lack in the rest of the supply chain system. And even when, right, the great empires of the world stop pissing on each other, right, it'll take a real amount of time to be able to spin up Nexperia again, to be producing what they were producing and get everybody back on track. And I think this is one of the big concerns, especially with our globalized world. But it's like, this is what's been designed. Like, that's what frustrates me with the Trump administration, is this isn't simply greed. I'm not saying there isn't greed there by American companies or Chinese companies or rest. I'm not saying that greed isn't there. But this is the system that has been built up over the past 30 years, right? There has been this idea, if you economically tie countries together very tightly, then it will be too costly for them to go to war, right? If we go to war with China, right? If we attack China, we don't get pharmaceutical ingredients, and therefore our old people die, right? That is a cost that's too high. If China goes to war with the United States, we stop trading with them, that crashes their economy, they've got a whole lot of other issues, right? So we've created this massively globalized supply chain over the past 3 decades, but it has been very much intentional, right? The politicians and everybody likes to scream at the CEOs, right? CEOs and stockholders, they're the ones that destroy the world. And then they kind of like scuttle away and say, don't look at me, right? But this is the world that has been intentionally created. And so it's curious to see now, right, as that globalization starts falling apart, it's curious to see all of the ways that fractures. And then one of the big questions is reasonably, how well can the system be rebuilt in a different fashion? And that's a big question. Like with a lot of the politicians and a lot of the pundits out there and all that, like there's this weird thing. Like there's this idea that all of this can be rebuilt again. Like just reshore. And again, I've talked about this with Silicon Dojo, right? I believe in Silicon Dojo in the deepest part of my heart. If all I could do was Silicon Dojo all day, I would. But nobody, like there's only so much value proposition there. No matter how much I care about it, no matter how much good it does for the world or whatever else, it is very fucking difficult to build something. It is very difficult to scale something, right? You need the product. You need people to hand over money. You need people to show the fuck up. You need all of these things to be able to scale and build. And many times, companies that we see now and supply chains that we see now are working as much on inertia as anything else, right? The factories and the supply chains and everything else was built years ago, possibly decades ago. There is a profit. There is a profit in continuing as we've been continuing, or a little bit better. But the question is if you burn the factory to the ground, right? And that's essentially what we're economically burning these factories to the ground. If you burn the factory to the ground, would there be enough value proposition? Would there be enough whatever is required to rebuild the factory and the system? And that's one of my big questions with what is currently going on is there the wherewithal? Is there the motivation to rebuild systems? Or are we simply going to burn down what we have and we're not really sure what the hell comes next? Right. So anyways, this is coming from Reuters. Again, with the whole idiocy. Nexperia suspends supplies of wafers to Chinese assembly plant, letter shows. So what this means, again, so wafers are going from Europe, they're going to China to be packaged as a finished product. A wafer basically has no value. It's like, oh, look, it's a wafer, right? It's like if somebody gives you a CPU. Here's a CPU. All right. Right, if somebody hands you an NVIDIA GPU, somebody hands you a $40,000 NVIDIA GPU, what are you going to do? Like, I don't know what to do with it, right? If it's not in a computer, if it's not part of a product, it doesn't matter, right? So anyways, right? Basically, they've got the wafers. They normally send those wafers to China. China's no longer sending the finished goods out. So now it appears that Nexperia is going to be suspending supplies of the wafers to China, which basically means production is going to stop. Let's see here. Dutch chipmaker Nexperia has suspended supplies of wafers to its Chinese assembly plant, according to a letter addressed to its customers that was reviewed by Reuters, which could exacerbate a supply squeeze that is worrying automakers worldwide. You think? It could. It could exacerbate. You know, this disaster could get worse. The letter, which was dated October 29th and signed by Nexperia interim CEO Stefan Tilger, said the company imposed a suspension on supplies to its plant in Dongguan in southern China's Guangdong province on October 26th, saying it was, quote, a direct consequence of the local management's recent failure to comply with the agreed contractual payment terms. After we seized your company, you are not playing nice anymore. What are you going to do? The company produces large volumes of chips in the Netherlands that are widely used in the automotive and consumer electronics industries. The majority are packaged in China and sold mostly to distributors. Quote, while we have maintained shipments for as long as commercially feasible, continuing the current flow of supply from our front-end sites is no longer justifiable, the letter says, quote, unless these contractual obligations are fully satisfied. We cannot resume wafer supply to the site. Nexperia is developing alternative solutions to ensure that supply is continuing to our customers. Nexperia added that the decision did not reflect an intention to withdraw from its site in Dongguan or from the Chinese market as a whole, adding that it remained committed to finding a resolution to this problem. After we stole your company, We are actively trying to resolve the issues from us stealing your company. So anyways, I don't know. That's the latest part of this whole crap show. What do you say about this? It's curious with this, right? This has been dragging on for a month now. I gotta say, in my cold, snarky heart, I didn't think it would last that long, right? I thought this was gonna be one of those dumbass tit-for-tat bullshit things that's been going on for a while now, where, you know, the EU does something and then China bitches, and then Trump comes in trying to win his fucking Nobel Peace Prize. And then somehow we get like this really fucking ugly solution. Like you just look at the solution, you're like, that's ugly, but I guess it works, right? Like I really thought that was the route we were going down with this whole Nexperia thing. But no, this has now been going on for a month. And this could be incredibly damaging. Again, all of these car companies, right? They talk about it. So Honda's factory in Mexico, I guess, is now shut down. I think Mercedes factory in Alabama and another like a BMW factory in Alabama, I think it is. They are slowing down their production. Brazilian's car industry, they're having issues. Like when I talk about this being global, like so many times I talk about this stuff and it's like, oh, it's the US and China. Right? You're Brazilian, who gives a fuck, right? Or it's the US and EU and China, right? Again, there's this whole idea, well, if you're not part of this group of stupidity, right, then you should be fine. What's curious about this is that it's just affecting like everybody. Japanese car factories, like in Japan, South Korean car factories, everybody is being hit by this. And so, as I've talked about before with this whole what's going on with the economy, think about this as just another blow to the foundations of our economy. Not only do we have the stupidity of Trump and the tariffs and all of that kind of stuff, not only do we have, you know, all of the major layoffs and all those kinds of things going on, not only do we have a government shutdown. What the fuck? Are we 30 days into a government shutdown? Apparently Snap, it is the 31st today. So apparently tomorrow, whatever the modern equivalent SNAP, the modern equivalent food stamps are, that money is not going to get sent out. 40 million people in the United States who need food stamps to eat are not going to be getting food stamps, or the SNAP, the new version of food stamps. That's the thing. This is not simply the auto industry is having an issue during rather normal economic times. Rather normal. This is the auto industry is going to be devastated. At the same time, everything else is going to hell. It is curious, though. It is curious. I wonder how this will pan out at the end of the day. Apparently Toyota is like the only auto manufacturer that's like, it's fine. I don't know if that's pomp and circumstance. I don't know if they're just trying to blow smoke up people's asses and they're really screwed like everybody else. Or maybe they have a different supply chain. And so that's going to be one of the things to be thinking about too, like with business going forward, is does it make sense that everybody has the same supply chains? Does it make sense that everybody's using essentially the same vendors to create different products? So you think you have diversification, right? Okay, well you have BMW and you have Mazda and you have Honda and you have Ford and you have Chevy. So look, we have all of these different car companies. Even if one car company has a problem, the rest of the auto industry will be fine, right? But if you have these choke points, right? If all of these auto manufacturers use chips essentially out of one company, then you still have that point of weakness. Does that kind of inventory, supply chain, whatever system kind of work in the modern world? Things to ponder. And the final thing to ponder is Uyghur. Uyghur! Anyways. The Chinese people make me giggle. Like, aw. Hey, look. Look, we go to a mathlete competition. Dear Chinaman, we go to a mathlete competition, you will whip the shit out of me. Oh, you still don't understand context. You still don't fucking understand context. Anywho. So what do you think about all this? What do you think about the Uyghurs? Put your thoughts down below. Be a real Lutnick. Put a strong American comment down there about the Uyghurs. Because this whole video, as far as Chinaman is concerned, is only about fucking Uyghurs. Anyways, Put your thoughts down below. Like the videos, give us a thumbs up. Hate the videos, give us a thumbs down. Talk about the Uyghurs down in the comments section down below. Just don't give us a weak European Uyghur comment. That's unacceptable. We demand strong American Uyghur comments. Anyways, what I actually care about is Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com, free to the end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do in Durham, North Carolina. We have a class on AI and SQL coming up next week, AI and web scraping coming up on November 19th. We're going to have more classes coming in the future, so if you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com for the schedule. Also, remember, free to the end user is not actually free. That's why I shake my brain nipples and scream about Uyghurs every day. So if you want to support my project, there is a donor box link down below. Recurring payments, $1 per month forever is kind of nice. Just gonna put that out there, but I will take any money you're willing to offer. And with that, see y'all later.